women are attracted to men that other women are attracted to in general. And one of those selection criteria is this guy beating out everyone else? Is he beating out the other men and becoming the top dog? That's what it means to be alpha, is to be the top dog, essentially, right? And so that's, you know, it's not really a superficial level thing then. Yeah, I mean, if you're a sugar baby and you're looking for the, you know, the 6-year-old guy with a lot of money, that's a totally different thing, and that's not going to be fulfilling for anyone. I don't think that's a good arrangement for anyone. But in general, like the you know, just the raw attractiveness that women have towards men with money has, you know, I mean, would you disagree that it has to do with that?
But what
ambition?
if you are the one making the money and you happen to meet a guy who has no money and you fall in love with him? What if you're the boss? What if you're the alpha, is what I'm saying?
That'll never work.
Yeah. We're in new times, brother. We're in new times.
No, it doesn't change. It doesn't
I
change.
mean,
you're
honestly,
going to be sexually attracted to some guy that's making less money than you.
Hey guys, Stephanie here, founder of MissUSAInternational.com. I am here with John, and we are going to be talking about a recent video that Tomi Lahren put out. And I just want to say that there are a lot of things. I'm not really a big supporter of her. Her videos are extremely controversial. But this particular video really gets my blood boiling because she really comes at men hard. And I don't think men, I mean, at least the men I've met, I don't think that they really have that bad of a rap. Like, I have only met wonderful men, and maybe I'm extremely blessed, but my boyfriends have never really hurt me that bad in the past, maybe when I was young, but I've been lucky enough to have really great men in my life. And so, John, I'm really interested, like, do you feel like she was right in that video? Do you feel that way?
In some ways, yes, and in some ways, no, right? So in general, right, like, you know, I did a video and I basically talked about like the top 5% of men, right? And that's what she's really going after, and that's who she's really complaining about. And so it's like, if you're going after the top 5% of men, and maybe even in her case, it might be like more like the top 2 or 3%, to be honest, then you should expect the kind of behaviors that she's complaining about. And, you know, what's interesting about it though, so in that way she's accurate, right? But the issue is that women in general tend to act very similar in the way that she's complaining that men act, whereas, you know, the kind of bottom 95% of men, they're watching her video and they're getting really pissed off because they're like, hey, I'm not like that at all. I'm, you know, the typical nice guy. I'll text you back. I'll make plans. Well, you know, why are you saying all these things? They're not true. And I think it's just a difference of perspective, not understanding that, you know, these are the behaviors that maybe the top 5% of men are going to do, and why they're doing it, as opposed to just men in general. So.
Sure. Well, I definitely believe that it's not just men who act like this. I'm friends with a lot of males, and they always tell me, like, the girls are for the streets nowadays, you know, and I don't even know what that means, but I get it.
I know where you got that reference.
I'm just like, okay, you know, men are feeling this hurt, I think, in the same way that women are too. Like, I think it just has to do with us having this false idea that someone is going to be what they are and what we want them to be forever. The most certain thing in this world is that people will change. And if you are looking for someone to fulfill something for you, to be something for you, you bet your ass that they are going to change and they are not going to be that person forever. And I think that people in our society is taught to believe that we're supposed to find this person and they're supposed to complete us and make us whole. But that is a false sense of security that we are living on, that everyone is living on, which is why we're so crazy. Why can't I find the perfect man? Why can't I find this? And the truth is that doesn't exist, and it never will. And even if you think you found it, there's no guarantee that it will be there forever.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. I mean, the focus has to be, well, and one of the things I teach men especially is that you have to focus on your purpose in life, your mission in life. And a lot of men want to put women first and put a woman in their life as the center of their life. And when they do that, that's when it doesn't work out for them, right? Because no woman wants a man that worships her as the center of his life, and you're not gonna be happy as a man. And you, like, a lot of what you're describing, where guys snap and go crazy and whatnot, it's because they're like suppressing all these things because they're being this nice guy. They're trying to be very amicable to everyone instead of actually being a little bit more selfish, which is what was actually going to produce a genuineness in a person. Like, it's funny. I was just talking to someone the other day and they were complaining about narcissists. And I actually said, I only trust narcissists. I don't trust anyone who's not a narcissist. And I know it's, you know, it's kind of has a negative connotation, but the reason why I say that is because you can only really trust someone who is to some degree selfish, because then when someone, you know, has a high value of themselves and has kind of a selfish tendency, then when they're actually doing something for you, you know, it's genuine and authentic and not necessarily something they're doing out of compulsion. So
yes, I agree. And I'm glad that you actually brought up the term high value person, because I feel like a lot of people nowadays use that in a completely wrong context. And they, you know, when I hear millennials especially, or like younger people looking for love, and they say, I want a high value girl, I want a high value man. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? You want a good person? Like, you want a decent person? Like, what are you equating to a high value person? The job that they have, the car that they have, maybe they're a nice guy, maybe they're nice looking, you know, all of these things. And when you speak about being a high value person, is someone who values themselves. And that is really the most important thing, is that you know, finding the one, I think, is not luck. You're not lucky, oh, I found the one I love. I think it's when two people have worked on themselves enough and they're mature enough to know what they want and what they're willing to compromise. And we're playing this game constantly nowadays. And the problem with playing the game is that there's always a winner and there's always a loser. There's always someone being more of what the other person wants, pretending to be something they're not, suppressing all of these things. And I think, you know, we're taught that if you don't play the game, you know, you don't have game, or, you know, you're not attractive. And that's something we need to break out of really desperately, I think.
well, you know, I have to push back a little bit there, because, well, there's two values, I think, two ways, value systems, I would say, of like when you say, you know, what makes a high value man versus what makes a high value woman, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's sort of this like intrinsic value,
Mm-hmm.
and this is like sort of the value, the deeper value, right? A person who develops themselves, male or female, has this kind of value. A person who has some degree of charisma, who is able to accomplish things in life and to grow themselves as a person, who has, you know, valuable thoughts, things for themselves, and it goes like that. That's kind of like the value, the general value.
Right, exactly.
Right. But when you look at actually the market value, right? You know, one example I use is like if you had an auction, okay, and you put put several women up for men to bid on, all right, and it's just men that are bidding on them, all right. What is the thing that they're going to bid on, right? And you could do the same thing with a man. You can put a man up and have a bunch of women bidding on this guy, right? And, you know, if you look at it from the female perspective, like of the guy up there, we could start with that one. It's not going to necessarily be the most attractive guy. It's not necessarily going to be, it'll probably be the guy that has the most status, right? Not necessarily the richest guy. If you put a rock star up there, that guy's going to get higher bids than anyone else, you know, probably even than a movie star or something like that, because that's the sexual market value of a man, is his status. Whereas if you put a woman up there, right, and you have men bidding, it's not going to matter how many degrees she has. It's not going to matter how smart she is. It's not going to matter anything except for, well, the primary thing will be how she looks and her youth. Like that's going to command, if you want to figure out, if you want to optimize and say, which woman can I put up there to get the highest value? Let's say you're doing it for a charity, right? You know, that's where we get rid of all the political correctness and we start to say, okay, all right, well, we know who we're going to put up there. And so that's kind of like, you know, what it comes down to, like when you consider like a high value person, like a high value man or high value woman, what we're really talking about usually, right, is the sexual market value, right? And that's the thing, because that's what really motivates us and what we're looking at, and that's what defines these behaviors, right, that Tomi was complaining about.
I mean, that's what we've been, I think, programmed to be like, because, you know, being someone who's traveled all over the world and seen love in so many different perspectives and heard stories from girls from all over the world. For instance, this one girl, she was Miss Netherlands, gorgeous girl, absolutely flawless, so beautiful personality. And when she showed us her boyfriend, we were all like, oh, that's your boyfriend. And she said to us, I don't care, I love him. And it's because I know that at the end of the day, if he has nothing else but one piece of bread in this world, he's going to break it in half and give me part of it. Because at the end of the day, I think like this Western culture of a man's or even a person's value being anything monetary, because first of all, there are so many things that go into how people make their money, whether it's in a very good way or not good way, you know, legal, illegal, or like, I mean, there's so many ways that you're going to value someone based on their money and you have no idea how they got there. And I think we as a society, as a people, are looking for all the wrong things that are, like I said, this false sense of security, this One day a man may have $1 million and lose it all in one day. Then is he still valuable? Do you still love him? And was it love then in the first place? So people are equating all of this emotion, and they feel like it's love because we are taught by the most genius marketers, by psychologists, people who want us to behave a certain way, to buy a certain thing. We are taught from a young age to believe that these are the things that make a person valuable, but all of these things can be lost in a second. All of these things are false securities. So, I mean, how can you ever be happy, or how can a man ever want to be with a woman, or a woman ever be with a man, if every single time, okay, I realize I'm with you for all the wrong reasons. I never really loved you. This was all a facade, you know, this was all false. And I mean, imagine like just getting your entire floor ripped from under you when you realize this person I spent my entire life with is, you know, not the person I really wanted to be with. And I mean, then we waste our time, we're bitter, and then we hate men or we hate women. I mean, it's just a cycle and a cycle and a cycle because people don't know themselves and people don't want to take the time. They want to take the shortcut. They want to fall in love. They want to make the money with the man, or they want to have a beautiful girl by their side. But we've seen this with celebrities, with, you know, high status people, that none of this brings you happiness. None of this brings you an easier life, maybe in the moment, but not long term. And I mean, if we're all, which we are, living in the moment and living short term, then I mean, it's not really love. Why even be in the relationship? Just be a platonic, you know, or a polygamous world. I mean, might as well.
So, okay, so then what do you think brings us happiness with our partner? Like what is going to be a fulfilling,
yeah,
you know?
So I think something that's really, really important is when someone can be honest with you, because at the end of the day, I think what everybody is searching for is attention. And we are all striving for someone to love us, someone to care, to feel like somebody cares about us. At the end of the day, people go to great lengths to be famous, to be known, for no other reason than because they want people to love them and listen to them. And we crave this as human beings. So for me, it's someone that I can sit and I can be honest with to the core. I can tell them anything, and that they will look at me and they will genuinely care about what they tell me back. Most men and most people in relationships, they're saying things to make the other person happy. They're saying things to make them think, oh, I'm cool, I'm better than I am, I have this, you know, this external value. And at the end of the day, that's all, again, false security. But if you don't have someone that you can look them in the eye and tell them every single thing that you're feeling about this life, about this world, about what you want, and they can't give you an honest and caring response, that for me is the one thing. Not being, I mean, because how many partners do you know? I have secrets from my wife, I have secrets from this. I want my partner and I to have no secrets, to the point where if you want to sleep with somebody else, tell me before you do it, but also like tell me so I can, you know, make an educated decision on what my next move is in my life. It's only fair to be honest and not waste my time. But we live in a society too where we take to heart so much what people think about us, what people say to us. If like we're thinking, okay, my man thinks that other girl's hot, she wants to sleep with him or whatever. Oh, he hates me, I'm worthless. You know, we live in a planet with billions of people. I mean, who's to say there's someone out there that doesn't look exactly like you with a similar personality? I mean, there's so many options. So for people to take things so personally like that, it really gets in the way of being able to genuinely and honestly love. And you end up lying and you end up cheating. And then again, you're in this cycle.
That's interesting. I think I can't totally disagree with the idea of honesty. I mean, definitely women react to men who are honest in a negative fashion, right, in general, but I think but there's some truth to what you're saying for sure, because I think a lot of it is because that honesty comes from a place of weakness rather than strength. Like, so for example, I mean, I like the example that you use. Like, let's say that you have a guy that you're going out with, and he says to you, I mean, this is a good question, all right, suppose we're going out and I say, hey, I want to sleep with this other woman over here. How do you react to that?
Yeah, so again, this is speaking, I have done this before. I've been in relationships where we got to a point where it was either we were going to stay together or we were going to be honest with each other about what we wanted. And we went on vacation together for the first time we were trying this out. We would like point out who we wanted to sleep with. I was perfectly fine with it. I was like, only because, I don't know, I have a very inflated self-confidence, but I was okay with it, but he was not. He broke down 2 days in. He was like, I can't handle it. I can't do this. And you know what? Yeah, exactly. And so, yeah, I realized that it really comes from a place of self-insecurity and putting emphasis on emotion in the wrong places. When you're looking at things in a macro perspective, I mean, a micro perspective, and not even giving yourself a second to look from an outside point of view, or taking a moment to think, okay, why are they saying this? Why are they feeling this way? you automatically go to, oh my goodness, I must not be good enough, or it must be because of me, or this, or maybe, like it's always been a fantasy to sleep with someone who looks like your favorite celebrity, and that person seems to walk up, but they didn't tell you that, you never asked. So, I mean, yes, there can be instances where men are complete a-holes and they're like, I want to sleep with her because I think she's better and you're fat and da-da-da. Yes, that's out there 100%. But the real trap for any man or woman, because unfortunately there will be people, and we will be those people, at some point, is taking that so personally and putting all of your self-worth and your self-value in somebody else, like having what they say affect you so much. And yeah, it could be somebody that you love, but thinking from a macro perspective and thinking, wow, there are 7 billion people in this world. Do I really expect that forever, for the rest of my life, this one person is only going to have eyes for me or only going to care for me? Most people get divorced. Most people don't stay together forever. And at the end of it, one of you is going to die first, so getting attached to that love and that affection that's only for you, it's kind of like, again, a false sense of security. And that is not our fault. Like, we are so programmed and trained. It's FOMO. As a marketing, I have my degree in marketing and business, and FOMO, fear of missing out, is one of the biggest marketing tactics. It's like wanting what you can't have, right? So we are trained that, oh my gosh, if I can't have that, then that means that my entire world is over. Like, I need that, or everything, my self-worth is not enough. We see this all the time, like scarcity tactics, all that stuff. So we are trained by geniuses that know us better than we know ourselves to believe that our self-worth is in this one thing that we can't have, or we might not be able to have because they want to be with somebody else. But that's not true, because you'll find another Joe Schmo with probably the same haircut and the same personality a week later. And most people know that, hindsight 2020, when they're out of the divorce, when they're out of the relationship, and they're like, oh, well, I was fine a couple months down the road. We know this. We are not, we're not like blind to it, but this idea that all, like FOMO, fear of missing out, this idea that our self-worth is in something else, that we need to have this or else we're going to miss out, and that's it, that's our self-worth, then that's where we're falling short, because we do know that when you get out of a relationship, you're fine. But then why do we spend so much time devaluing ourselves and ruining our self-esteem for the foreseeable future, in several relationships? And it's because we're trained. A lot of people think, oh, I'm smarter than the marketers. Oh, I know that commercial's doing that to me. I know they're trying to sell me stuff. But to be honest, you think you surface level know, but that's subconscious, and what they're doing to you, you don't know. And coming from a marketing background, I know, So I think that people have to, for me, my brand, Self-Genics, it's a whole self-development system. We talk about disconnecting so you can reconnect in a healthy way. Because it's not about being, like not watching ads and not being able to do anything because it's going to affect your subconscious. It's about understanding from an outside perspective, not just being so in your head and your subconscious, looking at things from a macro perspective and saying, okay, this is what I want out of my life. This is who I am. And whatever comes through and comes along the way is just going to be a lesson, or, the whole expression. Some people
So a lot of what you're describing is what I would call non-attachment, right? And I think that's important, right, for anyone to have, is like, you can't really love freely unless you have the ability to non-attach, right? Because everything in your life is temporary. Someone may be in your life for a night or a week, a month, a year, a lifetime, but you're eventually going to die, or they're eventually going to die. And so to not give yourself fully because you're afraid of loss or pain is really attachment, right? And it's like, so I think that's pretty valid for sure. And more people need to practice that kind of non-attachment. And that's why, like you said, like, we're guarded, we lie, we keep secrets, is because we're afraid of a loss or a pain. And so we don't
an illogical loss or pain, a really illogical, since we know that we'll be fine down the line, and that's what really, like, for me, I don't know, because I studied marketing, I think I see it a little more, but for me, I just want to shake people and be like, you're wasting precious time and you're doing irreparable damage to your self-esteem by sitting in this place of worthlessness because of somebody else. But how do we become so secure in ourselves, and how do we step away from becoming like a product of society in order to not be affected by the things around us or the people around us, since you work in that space, apparently?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's different from men and women for sure, right? Even just the whole idea, like what you said with your boyfriend, where you're pointing out guys that you found attractive and he was pointing out, and it didn't really faze you that much, but it fazed him, because I think some of it comes down to like that difference of how men really want to have a woman that is a one man kind of guy, but men, it's almost, it's a double standard, but it's kind of a biological one. And so I think a lot of the behavior that you're talking about kind of derives from that. You know, so again, it's like if you're chasing the higher value guy, you're going to need to expect that kind of behavior because he's got a lot of options. Whereas, because, you know, 80% of women want the top 10% of men. Right. And they don't even see the bottom 90% of men. They're, it's not even on their radar. Whereas it's the opposite for men. Like 80% of men want the top 60% of women. Like they're happy with whatever.
Not surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, okay, yeah, I definitely didn't see it from that perspective, because to me it was very black and white. I'm like, if someone's not making time for me, then they just don't want to see me. But I do understand, okay, for a man or a woman, you know, like if you have other options, I guess, you know, or you're very busy. I think that that's something that really annoys me about this whole, I mean, Lauren's whole thing about like, let's make these guidelines for what a high value man or a high value person has to be, because first of all, everybody is so unique. Like somebody may have a 9-to-5 job that's making millions, or somebody may have, you know, a freelance business where they have all the time to love and hang out with you, but maybe they're not making as much money. And so for me, it's like, especially in an ever-changing world and with a world with so many options of how you can live and what's acceptable, I just, for me, the term high value or top 5%er is very like, when did we start putting value on people like that? When did it start becoming about any of that? It really reminds me of that song. What's that song? It's not about the money, money, money. And I know it is nowadays, unfortunately, but to me, I mean, it's not sustainable for society to continue in this way. And I think that's why a lot of people are cheaters and a lot of people are becoming polygamous and living these alternative lifestyles, because it's just not sustainable to be in a relationship, because we think like, okay, like I'm this high value person now, I have to act a certain way, I'm going to be picky about my girls. Because honestly, I mean, what if the prince who met the bartender in Miami and then they got married? I mean, if we keep training everybody to think that this is the way it needs to be, like a high value person is going to act this way or is going to be this way, or I have to be a certain way, and then you're just not being yourself and you're just acting in a way that you think is what's going to attract a high value person, and that's really dangerous.
So, okay, then, I mean, that's interesting. Like, I don't wholly disagree with it, but I think that that's kind of that's kind of the friendly version of what you're supposed to say. But if I were to ask you directly, I mean, would you accept a less than top 5% guy? I mean, you have some value, right? That you recognize, right? You know that guys are attracted to you, that you're attractive, right? So are you going to settle for a guy that's in the bottom 95%, or let's say bottom 80%? Maybe he doesn't have money, but he's a good guy. He's going to be honest with you. He's gonna, you know, he's gonna love you. He's gonna treat you right, and you know, but he doesn't have a lot of ambition. He's not making a lot of money. He's not that attractive. It's not his fault. He's going bald. Not his fault. You happy with that guy, or is that for everyone else?
That's funny you say that, because it goes back to my friend who has the way less adorable boyfriend than she. She went through a really traumatic experience before dating this guy, or in between. She went physically, like her body went numb for a little bit. Anyway, she had a revelation about life, right? And she really started to value different things, as most people do when they go through a life-threatening situation. And it's only until you're in that spot where life is like literally dangling do you realize that all these other things are not going to bring you happiness, so what's the point? And for me, I have been on both sides of that spectrum. I have dated someone completely for their money before, and it made me feel like a horrible person. And I lived every day thinking like, is this who I am? Are these my values? And it really caused the relationship to go south, even though the person was great, you know? And I have dated guys who have nothing and are ugly, and people are like, oh, is that your brother? Like, because to me, personality shines through first, but that's only because I have been through a lot of, not necessarily my own life or death, but I've had my father say he has 6 months left to live, and I've had, you know, my mother went through a lot too. Anyway, I've had a lot of experiences in my life where I got a different perspective on life and a greater gratitude for life, and also traveling the world and realizing how lucky I was to be in America and all the things that women and men suffer with in other countries. It really opens your eyes. And for me, being open-minded is such an important thing, because you see the world in a completely different lens when you're able to see how different it is everywhere. When you see like the way that we live is completely different to the way they live in India, you start to realize like, wow, like life doesn't have to be this bubble. Life isn't this bubble actually. And so you start to open your mind and start to value different things. And I think that comes with maturity as
okay,
well.
but well, hold on. So, what's your minimum standards though? Like, what would you? Because everyone's got minimum standards. Like, I have definitely minimum standards. My standards are pretty damn high. So, like, and I don't have any qualms about my standards, right? Like, if you like a woman that I would consider to be of quality to me is going to be like a 9 or a 10. You know, she's gonna be up there, right? Like,
Right,
so.
right.
But you must have some kind of minimum standards, obviously.
Well, let me tell you that I dated a very wealthy man a few years ago, and I had everything, and he was okay and stuff. But eventually, you know, other people got wind that he had a lot of money, and a lot of people were into him, trying to hang out with him for the right reasons. Anyway, I realized in the end, money wasn't going to bring me happiness. And after that, I really, really like. I don't have a standard. I'm going to be honest with you. Like, there's never been a time where I've met a guy and I've asked him like what he does or even cared, because I know that I can support myself. I value myself enough to know that if I'm talking to you, if I'm vibing with you, if I'm having a good time, that's all I need, because I'm not looking for anything for you to fulfill. And I think that's what people are looking. They're looking for them. Either they want you to look good because they want someone hot to bring around. They want to show they can date a hot person, or someone with money because they want to show they can date someone with money and they have everything. But when you take those factors out and you can do them yourself when you're secure, I think that when you're honestly secure yourself, I'm not saying like, okay, like I have a great job, I can pay myself, but I'm completely insecure for my first boyfriend who ruined me and I never dealt with those issues. Now I have insecurity, you know, all these baggages that we get that we never truly deal with. Until you can understand those about yourself, accept them, and then change them or grow from them, then you're always going to be searching for someone to fulfill something, regardless. Like, you may say it's your standard, fine. And maybe you do want an attractive girl, fine. But when in my opinion, for me, what's happened to me is once I realized that the things I thought I wanted weren't going to bring me happiness, like the hot guy or the money, I realized that having someone that I went to sleep with every night and I trusted and I could wake up in the morning and I knew they were going to be there smiling to make me laugh, that's what I started to value. And yeah, I mean, to some extent, I'm like, I don't want a homeless person or a guy who has no ambition. Ambition's a big thing, yes, but I value a guy living in his van trying to make his own company than a man working 18 hours a day for somebody else.
But you're talking about like a good roommate, like, I mean, you know, like a good spoon, and like, yeah.
Oh, I mean, obviously there's I mean, for me, like,
right,
if I find an ugly dude, but his personality is attractive to me, I'm on it. Like, I don't know. I think maybe that's because I'm very against like westernized culture in terms of like, I think that we all are becoming the same and we're just becoming, like I said, a product of the society. They want us to act a certain way so they can sell a certain thing, and I honestly think that's just the end game. But for me, I really think that if you find someone that you vibe with, it shines way harder than someone who has money or looks good.
Well,
and
yeah, I mean, but the thing is, okay, but attraction is not a choice, right? So like, I agree that, I mean, if you're independent, if you've got your own income, if you're not looking for external validation from someone, that you could have a boyfriend that's nothing special, right? But it's just like, you know, someone who's there, right? But again, that's why I'm saying it's like a roommate. But when you're talking about someone who you sexually desire, right? It's not like you get to make that. It's like on one level you're saying, okay, this is what's wrong with society and they're feeding us this message, and I totally agree that that's fine. That message is being fed, but there's also a biological like nature to men and women, right? And you can't override your own biological nature. So you have an attraction, right? And that attraction is not going to be to the same guy that you're talking about as this, you know, this hypothetical guy that might be a loser, right? So what is right?
To me, it's like, okay, if you're talking about someone you want to sleep with or you want to have a short-term relationship with, and because eventually they will get ugly, dude. I mean, I'm pretty sure everybody knows that. Like, if you want to be with someone, it better not be for their looks, because you're all going to get gross. So for me, it's like, people, like I said, they're searching for this short-term, oh, I want the pretty girl, I want the money, but those could go away in an instant. And if you're predicating your love for somebody on those things that are false securities, then you'll never have love and you'll constantly be searching for the wrong things. And like, yes, if I'm going to sleep with someone and I'm physically attracted to them, which is why I think honesty is a huge thing, because if you want to talk value, There will always be someone with more value than you and always be someone with less. Doesn't matter if you think you found the best person tomorrow, a better person might come right through that door. You don't know. And life is so unpredictable. So for me, it's like, if you can be honest with your partner and say, these are the things that, you know, I find attractive about someone else, or some things that you're lacking. I mean, what is it? Either be in an unhappy fake relationship, or be honest with your partner and either move on or don't, or fix it, you know? I do understand what you're saying, that, yeah, okay, biologically, we are sexually attracted to people. And I also think the way that society is, like, having to get married and be with one person for the rest of your life. My goal is to have lovers in every country. And just like, you know, I'll be alone when I want to, and I'll be with them when I want to. If I want to get married and have kids one day, maybe that'll happen. Maybe I'll choose one, and maybe they'll know about the others, you know? But I think people are so rigid nowadays when there's so much choice. I think it's impossible to believe that you're not going to find someone with more value, that you value more in your entire life.
Well, I mean, okay, so a couple of things here. So one is that, you know, the tables aren't exactly balanced. It's not exactly even between men and women in that sense, right? So, like you said about like having a lover in every city, it's a fine goal when
country.
Okay, that's all right. That's a little, maybe it's a slight difference, but
I think
so you're like what, probably like 26, 27. Okay, so, you know, that's probably going to be fine for the next, you know, couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
But after you hit, you know, past that 30 mark,
guys
you know,
always say this.
Well, that market value, that sexual market value, does dramatically decrease. So, like, having a lover in every country, it's still an option, but it's not going to be the kind of, you know, lover that you want.
I mean, if you're thinking that I'm going to go and find like the hottest guy in every country and that he's valuing me for the way that I look, yeah, I agree with you. But that's the thing that I'm saying. I personally attract people who like me for my personality. Being a beauty pageant contestant, I am frequently in a room where I am not the prettiest girl, but I stand out more than any other girl because of my personality, because of my smile, because I have a good sense of humor. And the good guys, the ones you want to attract, in my opinion, not the misogynistic, I want a snow bunny, I want a girl who's skinny with big boobs, I want, you know, like, I can't, because you know what, all of that fades. And if you want to go ahead and do that, it's your own unhappiness you're playing with. And you're going to realize that when you're 50 and you're going to be like, whoops, I wasted my life. And that's what happens to a lot of people.
I think that, I mean, granted, I'm not in total disagreement with what you said, but granted that guys don't have the same problem that women do, right? A guy can
I don't know about that.
I mean, be good until he's like 50. Or, I mean, guys that are in their 40s and 50s can easily date girls that are in their early 20s.
If they want money, if the girl wants money. Other than that, I don't see. You don't think so?
Even, no.
I'm grossed out when I kiss a 35-year-old.
Yeah, it's definitely not what you think. I mean, maybe you in particular, but trust me on this one. It's
okay. I believe you. I believe you.
But what I would say is that the same does not apply to women. So when you get older, right? I mean, like, you compete in beauty pageants, granted, but why? It's right. I mean, it's mostly a judge of physical attractiveness, and you realize that is an asset that will go away over time. And so your value will decrease. So as a woman, if you don't find a guy that you're going to, while you have a high degree of physical attractiveness, then, you know, what you're saying of the lonely guy that kind of wasted his life, I don't know. He's got a much longer shelf life than a woman does, right? What do you think about women who are in their 30s now, and they're bitter and angry at the world because, you know, like kind of the Tomi Lahren thing, right? Like, so I think with what Tomi Lahren is because she's like 27, she just turned 27, and she's like, oh shit, I'm not as hot as I was when I was like 22 or 23.
27's like prime age.
She can't get the same guy she could. She's just not as hot as she was. And I think she's starting to realize this. She's coming close to that 30 mark, and she's realizing, hey, you know, it's not exactly the playground that it was before. And now she's kind of getting bitter and pissed at men in the world. But what do you think about, you know, women making that choice? Because you can have fun in your 20s, it's true. But then, I don't know, in your 30s as a woman, you're not going to have the selection you had, and you're not going to be able to.
I think that's not true, because I know plenty of women in their 30s who are hotter than I am, and I'm younger. You know, it really depends. I'm going to be honest. When I see women who are ugly in their 30s, I think, wow, girl, you don't love yourself. Because what causes us to age, what causes all of like you know, when I think about it, I think about my cat. My cat was really pretty when she was young, and then she kind of got this scrunched up face, and the vet said it's because she was stressed out. And I think that imposing that idea on women is what makes us feel and what makes us look ugly, because I see women who are like, I'm rocking my 30s, I'm loving it, and they are getting it, they are killing it out there. And I think that, fine, maybe there are men out there that are brainwashed by society to think that, okay, when women hits a certain age, and maybe you're going to say it's biological, okay, fine.
Okay.
But in my opinion, truly, because I've seen older women get it, and I've seen single women who's been through divorce go back out there and get it, I think that maybe, yes, the majority of people who are thinking the same and want the same things, yeah. But when you find people who are secure in themselves, open-minded, and aren't looking for false security in looks and in money, then you're going to find the people that don't believe in that stereotype. And honestly, like I said, traveling the world, being with women from ages 17 to 35 for months at a time, learning about their lives, I know that, to be honest, I think that this is a facade. And a lot of guys and women, they just believe it because that's what we've been taught to believe.
Well, but I mean, that's nice, but that's not how the world really works. I mean, like attraction isn't a choice. Like, you know, it's not that guys are brainwashed into believing that women that are younger and more attractive are more attractive. It's because it's a biological function. A guy is going to pick, in general, a younger, more attractive woman over an older. It doesn't matter if she's got her shit together and she thinks that she's, you know, coming off and she's boss babe. That's fine. And as a person, now don't get me wrong, okay? Yes, there's a shallowness to the world and how it works.
Yeah.
At a deeper level, like someone who improves themselves, you know, a woman who is practicing personal development, improving herself every day, like is you know, spiritually minded and understands, you know, perspective of the world and things like that. That's all good and valuable, like as a good person. But when it comes to, you know, the sexual market value and what guys are going to pick, I mean, a guy that has options is not going to pick a 30-something woman who he sees as used up and is not as attractive as a hot. I mean, I'm just being honest. This is the truth of the
right.
fact.
And I believe that the man who has a lot of options has a lot of options because all the people after him want him for one thing, and that's his money or his status.
I don't think so. I don't think
it's
so.
Definitely. I mean, is it his looks? Is it? I mean, like what?
Well, I mean, what I would say it comes down to, right? Again, from coaching lots of guys and from a lot of experience in seeing these interactions, is status is the number one thing. But status is sort of a weird thing. It's a combination of looks and money and
exactly. It's your value. Right? Your. I mean,
right.
That's something that just really grinds my gears because, again, at the end of the day, sure. I mean, you may say it's biological, but I honestly don't think that. I think it's our westernized culture, because traveling all over the world and seeing how love works and people being married off and people running away for love. I mean, I think that we really are trained to believe, oh, go for the pretty young girl. So the women that are old can go and get Botox and spend thousands so they can look younger. But what about loving someone?
It doesn't even really work. But okay, but why does it grind your gears? Why do you not like this?
Well, because you can't. I mean, the minute we start putting value on people, then we start looking for people for the wrong reasons, for their money, for things that are going to fade no matter what. So you are giving yourself this, oh, this is going to give me happiness. And then you're going to lose it. And then you're going to be like, wow, I wasted my life, or I'm not happy, or what am I doing? Which makes us bitter, makes us hurt the next person, makes us kill our self-esteem. If we're taught from a young age, like, hey, okay, there's a pretty girl there, but what about her insides? And what about her personality? And what about this? Or what about, like, who are you going to be? You know, we're not taught that. We're taught, like, go out and get the richest guy, the girl that's prettiest, the youngest girl. That's what we're taught. And I know that from having little brothers too. I mean, they watch these movies and listen to the songs, and I'm like, I mean, are we surprised?
Well, okay, but is there something specifically that happened to you that made you feel this way? Because it doesn't seem...
and that's the thing. It's like, I'm very fortunate. Like, I am very pretty. Like, I usually get guys that have a great personality. Fine. I consider myself a high value person. But I also, like I said, I've dated butt ugly guys, and I've dated the complete opposite. And I think that has given me a lot of perspective.
Yeah, but when you're dating butt ugly guys, you're not dating them because you just can't wait to tear off their clothes and have sex with them, right?
I mean, yeah, I was. And that's the thing. And I think it's because I know, and that's the thing. And I'm telling you, if you're able to unlearn it, and I know, and I'm telling you, I mean, I would tell you honestly, like, there have been guys that I'm like, why are you so gross, but your personality is so hot, and you play the guitar, and I love you, just sing to me. Like, I have done that.
Like,
100%.
were they famous guitarists? Were they?
No. Just love their vibe. The fact that they love music. You know, there's so many things to me that shine way harder than looks. And I know that's not the norm 100%. And for me, I actually find it weird too. I'm like, how can I be more emotionally involved with this like weirdo guy sitting in the corner than the hot guy like trying to get me to go to the bar? You know what I mean? And yeah, it's because, like I said, I have realized, first of all, from dating someone very wealthy, that money will not bring me happiness. And from dating the hottest guys, that from dating the hottest guys, it just brings you more trouble and heartache. And so it comes from being logical and thinking of life in a macro perspective. What's actually going to make me happy versus what's going to short term, or what people tell me is going to make me happy.
Okay, so it's a logical choice to date the guy that's
and not drive from emotion, and not put my emotion in somebody else's hands.
But he's safe, and I mean, if you had to stay with that same guy forever, never have sex with a hot guy, a guy that you're actually like really physically attracted to, I think then maybe you might make a different choice, right? I mean, as long as you have the other option open to you, because you talked about kind of being polyamorous, and maybe I'm
yes, and that's another thing, right? Separating that sexual desire from like what's going to make you happy.
Right. So you can find the guy that makes you happy, like the kind of beta guy that maybe he's not so good looking and he has just an awesome personality, knowing that you can fuck other guys, right? But if you didn't have that other option, then I think maybe your choices would be different. Now I could be wrong, but
okay, and I will never know. I will never know if that is true or not, because you know that's something that I guess would always be like the option. But I mean, okay, there are many things there that you're saying, I mean, that are really true. What I'm saying is like it shouldn't be, and it's only going to lead you into the cycle of thinking men are horrible, men are horrible, because you don't know yourself enough, and you find someone that's wrong for you. You know.
Okay, but here's the thing. You keep on saying the words that it shouldn't be this way. And I could even agree with you on that. We talked about a little bit about detachment, and really what comes with that is the idea of acceptance, right? And so the world is the way it is. I could agree or disagree with you that it should be different, but it isn't different. And I'm not going to change it, and you're not going to change it. So we have to deal with how it is.
I mean, I might change it.
Well, good luck.
That's kind of my dream in life. So.
I mean, even if you change it, it's probably not going to. You might change it for the next generation. You're not going to change it for yourself. You know, change doesn't happen that fast.
Anything is possible. Anyway, okay.
Okay, all right, but here's the thing that I'm saying is that, I mean, when you just look at your own perspective, right? I mean, and again, I think there's a lot of women that are in the same situation. That's kind of, you know, part of the thing about doing these kind of interviews is that, you know, what is really going to be the long-term choice? Like when guys choose you, why are they choosing you?
Right. Okay. So me personally, 100% because of my personality. I'm super fun. I'm super out there. Like I speak many languages. I'm really smart. Yeah.
That's good. I'm not knocking those things. But if we had like a live stream, if I had a poll, if we were playing a game show and we were buzzing in and guys were like, and I was like, all right, it's on the board, top 4 choices. I want you to tell me why you're picking Stephanie. Is it 1? Is it because of her hot TikToks? Is it 2? Because of her personality? Okay? Is it 3 because she is smart and has advanced degrees? What do you think that the guys are going to buzz?
Right, because, okay, so basically in a beauty pageant, how it works, it's not just the final night and you get judged. What happens is the judges and the sponsors are with you the entire, so like most of the time a pageant is anywhere from 3 weeks to a month. Miss Universe is 6 months. The sponsors, everyone is there with you, and they're observing how you speak, how you interact.
But I'm not talking beauty pageant. I'm not talking beauty pageant.
No, but I'm saying why they would choose someone over somebody else.
Why would guys choose you?
Yes, right? Exactly.
Not judges.
Okay, judges are mostly guys. But okay, but I'm saying
guys in general, yeah.
Well,
you said honestly, why you would choose a guy, right? You said
you're saying like what, the top 5% that want a girl for her looks, they're looking for her looks. But I'm saying the guys who are looking for something genuine and are good people and secure themselves, that they don't need to fulfill something with a beautiful girl being a 50-year-old rich guy, and they want someone who maybe can relate to them and maybe is going through the same life struggles as them, because I doubt that a 60-year-old guy is going to meet a 20-year-old and be like, wow, we're the same, let's be together, we have the same values and the same wants out of life. No, you just want a pretty girl.
Could be an old soul.
I'm an old soul. I'm like 50 inside.
Okay, so but here's what I'm saying. So you're choosing guys based on what you said is their personality. But I'm not asking, I'm saying what are in general guys choosing you based on, right?
Right, but you're okay.
And actually what's interesting about it is, see, the top 5% guys are actually going to choose you based on more than looks, because those guys have the availability of women that are attractive, right? A guy that doesn't have the availability, he's always going to choose on looks. He's going to say, that's the hottest girl, that's the one that I want. Whereas a guy that has already had plenty of hot women and can get hot women, he's going to say, okay, well, all right, fine, you're hot, but whatever, it's not a big deal. There's a lot of hot women, okay? And he's going to say, okay, well, what else do you have, right? What else do you bring to the table, right? So, but what I'm saying is, in general, though, I mean, don't you, I mean, you must be aware that most guys that are, you know, I'm sure, I haven't seen your TikTok, but, or just, you know, I'm sure guys that are on there that are like, oh, you're so hot, oh, you know, heart emoji, right? These guys are not saying, you know, they're not picking you based on your personality, right? They're liking you based on your physical attractiveness and the sexuality that you portray in your videos, right? So is that not true? Is that not how
No,
guys
100%. What, like I said, if you're looking for something superficial, short-term, one-night stand, yes, 100%. But if we're talking about how Tomi Lahren is saying, I want a high-value man that's going to value me and I can be with for the rest of my life and not a crap guy, then I'm saying, yeah, I mean, you do have to find someone who doesn't value those things, or else, like I said, they're all going to fade. One day he's not going to love you because you're not pretty anymore, or you don't, or you have your advanced degrees, but you become a stay-at-home mom. Now your body's not the same. It doesn't want you anymore. I mean, it's just like, if you love someone for literally just their bare personality, like just the way that they speak to you, or the way that they listen to you, or the way that they care about others. Like one girl that I met in the elevator just stood out to me so much. She's like Mother Earth. When I talk to her, you feel a sense of calm. That's someone I want in my life, something I value, because that's the way it makes, you know, it's not like her money or her, the way her outfit or her job.
But ultimately you would want, like, I mean, you painted a pretty good picture of what you kind of want for your life, right? And if it were up to you to make all the choices, right, then and it more so is right now, okay, then it would be fine, except that what happens when you lose your beauty, and then now you don't have those options. Now you can say to guys, hey, you should pick me, like, it's wrong that you know, I have this awesome personality, right? But you're not going to be able to have a lover in every country. You see what I'm saying? Like, so
I mean, you still will, and that's what I'm saying, is that, I mean, yes, if you are looking for someone just for the way they look, you can have a lover in every country. It doesn't have to be the hottest guy or the richest guy. I mean, and that's what I'm saying, like, even if you find the hottest guy or the richest guy, those things are impermanent. So what is the point? You know, like, why would you be with someone because of those things? If that, I mean, and maybe people do because it's biological, or that's what we're searching for, but that is just going to lead to your own unhappiness. So I don't think that we're born with it, because, like, why are we searching for something that'll innately make us unhappy? Well, without a doubt.
Yeah, I mean, but if you're looking for the guy that's of high value, it sometimes, I mean, there's definitely going to be a amount of looks, right? So let's say like an alpha male, right? A lot of it is going to be the ambitious guy, right? You said you'd rather have a guy that's working on his own business than working for someone else. I totally agree. I think that's part of ambition. And those guys are going to have a lot of options. And those guys are going to choose based on their options. So not only are they going to choose the generally hottest women and youngest women, but they're going to be choosy in there based on other personality traits, right? Which I'll tell you what they are. It's a woman that makes a man feel like a king. That's what high value men pick on as secondary besides looks, right? But in fact, that might be even more valuable in some instances, right? But what I'm saying is that if you want one of those guys, and really the reason why I'm bringing this up is because it's not necessarily you, because maybe you could be happy, but a majority of young women today in their 20s, they're enjoying life. It's great. It's great to be a hot girl. You know, it's fantastic. Okay. You know, but they're screwing themselves up for the future, because they're not going to be able to get the kind of guy that they want, because a high value guy that is an alpha male, he's not going to say, oh, you know,
that's what I'm saying, you know, is that what you want? Are you chasing like a guy for his status and his money? If not, then you're definitely going to find someone. Like I said, there's 7 billion people in the world. For people to think that only a guy who has these traits, who is a high value guy, is going to make me happy, that's what's dangerous, I think, is that, okay, like, stop chasing this stereotypical guy because you think that a high value person is going to bring you happiness. Maybe a person that values themselves, but like I said, if the person has nothing in this world but one piece of bread and you're starving and he's going to eat it all, then what's the point? You know, you need someone there who's like not looking for you to fulfill anything in them. And
Well, yeah, I agree with that. That's for sure. You need to find a person. You should not be looking for a person to fulfill anything in you. No one. It's not Jerry Maguire. You don't complete me, right?
It's like, what does a high value person mean then? What I mean, why does it mean like I need to find this person who has these high value traits to make me happy?
Well, it's not to make you happy. It's as an addition to your life, right? And it's really a matter of what are you going to do in your 30s? So let's pretend like we're playing the marriage game, okay? And here's the deal, right? You have to get married. You have to pick a guy, all right? And you're gonna. Okay, there's no option for divorce, right? You know, and there's no polyamory. You're in Saudi Arabia. If you do any polyamory shit, they're gonna cut off your hands and stone you or whatever. Okay, so you got to pick some guy. All right, there's a lineup of guys. What guy are you going to pick to spend the rest of your life with? No cheating. You know.
And I've never met him. I'm just seeing a lineup of guys. No, I know them, right?
You can have like a 5-minute conversation with them, right? What are you, which guy are you going to pick? I've got, you know, and I could give you, you know, kind of descriptions of guys, but in general, you know, are you going to pick, let's put it this way. Are you going to pick an alpha male or are you going to pick a beta male?
So, right. I guess most people would say alpha, but for me, I'm very alpha. So I cling better with betas most of the time, even though I do think alphas are more sexy. But to me, like yin and yang is very important. And I think people need to be aware of that. If you try and find someone who's on the same like wavelength as you, or like the same, you know, the same kind of like power as you, then, you know, sometimes that could go awry, because yin and yang is a real thing. Like most people think like, I want to find someone who's as outgoing as I am or can do all the things I do, but really like, why not add somebody who's like completely opposite from you?
Okay.
The opposite of what you're thinking.
So you're going to pick a beta guy to spend your rest of your life with?
As long as his ambition is to change the world like mine, then yeah.
But you can't sleep with anyone else?
Can't sleep with anyone else.
Yeah, no, there's no like, oh, it just happened, you know, pool boy.
How many hot guys have I dated that were not good in bed, and how many ugly guys? I mean,
I don't know. You tell me. But
I mean, like I said, it comes from having a lot of experience.
If you're set in that position, okay, you got to make the choice.
Yeah.
You're honestly going to choose the beta guy. You can't sleep with anyone else.
Oh, that's such a hard thing. You're saying alpha, beta. I mean, of course, you want the alpha guy. Why? Biological, sure, whatever. Maybe he's sexier too. In the long term, yes, I think the beta guy is better. When I walked in Vancouver Fashion Week, the designer told me, you know what? I dated the bad guy. I'm the bad boy, and it was fun, but it ruined my life. And now I'm dating a little nerd who plays video games, and I love it. And you know what? That's the truth. And you only realize that wisdom when you're older.
Yeah, but I guarantee that woman is cheating on that little beta guy that's playing video games because she's getting the other needs met. Yeah, but she can still, I mean, she's getting the other needs met somewhere else, right? That's the thing. It's like the safety and the security. But in the reason why I asked you the specific thing, and I'm going to keep on, I'm not going to let you wiggle out of this one.
Yeah, would I choose the alpha or the beta? Honestly, that's the thing. How could you even ask that? I mean, it definitely depends on so many things.
Because that's what, okay, so your reality is different than most people's reality.
It is, right? But I pride myself in like.
Most people have to make that choice. Most women have to make that choice. Most men have to make that choice. Right now you have optionality. That I'm telling you that the optionality won't exist forever.
I've been in a relationship for the past 7 years, and I'm only in my mid-20s. So like I take relationships very seriously, and the sexual energy and the energy that I let into my life is very important to me. So for me, like I do understand relationships in a depth that I'm like, okay, like I know that these things aren't real.
But are you still in that relationship?
Yeah, well, we're ending it now because of Corona, and we want to move to different places and stuff. And we had deaths in our family. Anyway, it's very personal. But we were we were very happy. We're still friends. I mean, but the thing is that when you are in a relationship for that long, you know, most of your adult life, and you realize so many things about yourself, and you realize, like, okay, if I let this person affect me so much, if I put all of my self-worth in the idea that he has to be something for me or be a certain way or make a certain amount of money or anything like that, that I'm doomed. I'm doomed. Every day I'm going to be unhappy. Every day I'm going to feel uncertain, and that's going to leak into my own life, my own energy, which I don't want. So, I mean, that comes from being in a relationship for a long time, getting past the honeymoon phase, getting past the phase that sex even matters anymore, you know, and getting to a phase where you're like,
I think sex always matters.
See, like,
that's
you're
the
dating
most.
your best friend. I think that.
No. The most crucial thing in any relationship is always sex. It always, it like everything
I'm
else
over
gets,
it. I'm like, oh, no more of it, please.
but that's, but see that you're ending the relationship, right? If you were still having good sex, you wouldn't be ending the relationship. No, I don't know any relationship that's ever ended where there was sex was still good, right? I mean, heck, women will go to fucking prison and visit a guy like once a month for a conjugal visit because the sex is that good, right?
Really?
So yeah, so but okay, but back to the thing again. If you have to choose for the rest of your life one guy, right? What are you choosing, the alpha guy or the beta guy, right? You can't sleep with anyone else. You're in Saudi Arabia, like I said, everyone will find out. It's there's no safety.
Right. Yeah. I'm gonna be honest. I choose the beta guy. And yes, that's honest only because I've dated both, and I realized that the alpha guy is a headache. Maybe that's from experience. Maybe that's not like the biological, like what fresh out of the womb would say. But from having been in relationships and from dating both an alpha and a beta, I have realized that yes, I mean you're gonna save yourself a lot of heartache and a lot of headache from being with the beta guy. But I get what you're saying. The alpha guy is probably the most attractive to the naked eye in the short term, most attractive. But in the long term, if you have someone who's literally like, okay, I'm the best and you're going to be in my shadow and this, like yin and yang is very important. So it also depends on the woman.
But so now do you understand the Tomi Lahren like point of view? Because in a different way you're expressing her point of view, right? Because if we go back, right, you said you would pick the beta guy.
Mm-hmm.
Over the alpha guy, and the reason why you would pick it is because of heartache that you've had in your past, because you've dealt with
not heartache from my past.
I mean, an alpha guy that was trouble, right? I mean, that's how I interpret as heartache, but maybe it's not. Maybe it was just
not even for me. Not even for me. Like when, okay, let me give you an example. I was in this pageant. A girl met this guy, and she brought him to our final party. Right? They were so good together. He was so handsome, gorgeous. Every single girl in that room went for him, even though we were all friends. I'm not saying because of a man, because women sometimes are the cats. And I'm saying you're going to save yourself heartache, not because the man's going to go and da-da-da-da-da, because sometimes they're good men.
Right.
She was. But women and people and everything are going to go because they want that external value of a hot guy. They want that short term. I don't care who I'm going to hurt. I don't care if it means something to somebody else. That's the society we live in. But that's why I'm saying it. Not because the men will necessarily be bad, because I don't, like I said, I've been very fortunate to have noble, like honest, very wonderful men, very hot men, very high value men that are one woman, that are very dedicated, that have good values. But I see that those values are being exploited by other people who don't value themselves. And unfortunately, that is the majority of people.
Well, but that's an issue. See that, I mean, it comes back down to fear and safety, right? Because you know what you're talking about is like a fear reaction, right? Like you want a guy that's going to be safe, and I'm not blaming you, because a lot of women want a guy that's going to be safe, but that's not the guy that they want to actually fuck. They want to have the guy that's safe because he's safe, right? And that's the beta guy. But when it comes to sexual attraction, that's the, and you know, again, you have this perspective, and maybe you would say, okay, I would marry this guy, this beta guy, but at some point you're gonna, maybe make a different choice. At some point you're gonna maybe regret that decision. I mean, so many women initiate divorce today because they thought they settled for a beta guy, and then they realized, oh shit, this guy I don't want, or they tried to train him to become an alpha, which never works, and they realize that they're not going to be happy with that. But then what happens is that they're too late, right? And so that's so now they're single mothers on Tinder trying to
I don't see why you're equating beta with being lesser than alpha. It's just different.
No, it's I mean, it's the animal kingdom, right? I mean, we're all animals at the end of the day.
Everyone blaming everything on our animal instincts, like we haven't come far enough to know better.
Well, evolution takes a long time. Our brain has actually not evolved in 150,000 years. It takes millions of years for that to occur. So we have the same brain that we had 150,000 years ago. So
can you logically tell me that you don't know that a woman's looks will fade and eventually she'll be ugly?
Do I know that?
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
Right. So then why would you go for someone just because of their looks, or put any value in that at all if it's like not even, like it's so impermanent?
Well, because everything's impermanent, right? So, I mean, when you're going for what you typically, like, you're going to get whatever the best. Let's say that you got let's say you got 3 television offers to do a television show, right? One of them was like on PBS, was a public television show, and one of them was like a prime time television show, and the other one was was a documentary that
Right.
some
Okay.
aspiring great artist was
Mhm,
trying to put together,
mhm.
right? I mean, you're going to pick the one that you have. That's the
But
best option you have, right?
But you're painting it very black and white. So say the primetime spot is only for 1 month because, you know, they have a billion people like that are bigger than you coming to take your job versus the public where you're guaranteed, you know, the next 10 years on a contract, or the documentary that you believe could win you an Oscar and change the world. Like, it's not that black and white. And that's what the problem, I think, that people are so westernized that they think this is the criteria and that's all there is. And it's so black and white. If you don't have meet these standards, then, you know, you're not this or that. But it's not that way. And overnight things can change. People literally, I mean, I have a friend, Camila Mendez, who's in the show Riverdale. She's Veronica Lodge. And I just remember we were, you know, when she was 900 followers in, like struggling to get a job, and literally overnight became an international sensation, and now is doing movies with Ariana Grande's boyfriend. Overnight things can change. And if people are going to put value in that, then they're literally only hurting themselves. And maybe it's biological, but maybe we need to learn so we don't hate each other and hurt each other so much.
Well, I mean, okay, so a lot of what you're describing seems to me to be kind of a feminist kind of viewpoint of which I feel like doesn't really accept the true reality situation. Because at a surface level, I can't disagree with what you're saying, right? It's an ideal society and world, but that's not how it actually works.
Mhm.
And we have to operate in the world. I mean, if I give people advice
I
saying
don't
on
like
how
that.
it should work, right, then it would be great. I mean, it's nice fairy tale, okay, but like, for example, when I'm coaching guys,
Mhm.
like, I have a personal responsibility for them to actually have some success, and so I have to tell them the harsh truth of life and how it is and how they can actually gain what they want in life, whether or not it's a good thing for them or not,
Right.
right? So I don't know. Is that well? Let me ask you this question: would you consider yourself to be feminist or
No, I
feminine?
don't actually. And I do have a
Okay.
lot of, I only have views that are like, people, please stop being this way, because I don't
Mhm.
care how many people say, that's just the way the world is. That's just the way. If people kept saying that, then the world would never change. And unfortunately, I think that's a very narrow minded thinking of the world, because there are people out there who don't think that way. And there are cultures out there that don't think that way and live completely different and completely happy lives. And I think that people literally only see things in a westernized way. And westernization is spreading so much that that's just becoming the norm. I
Yeah, but
don't think that people always thought that way. I think that we used to have values and we used to actually care about people. Now all we want is their money and their status. And unfortunately, people say that's just the way the world is. Well, it shouldn't be, because we're all going to kill each other if that's the way the world is.
well, I mean, we are all killing each other
Exactly.
anyway.
And I
That's
just
what
think, like, if no
animals
one's going to
do.
make
But
an effort to be logical and change it, then why even keep going? Why even be in a relationship if you just know, well, that's just the way the world is?
see, the Eastern philosophy is one of non-attachment and one of
Yeah.
acceptance, right? So
Hmm.
accepting how the world is and how our biological natures
Yeah.
are, right? I mean, like, again, okay, well, let me ask you this, okay? Because, you know, you're very attractive, okay? And you know, that's you know, it's it's just like, you know, it is what it is.
Mhm.
But what if you weren't?
Right. And I've been in the
What
room with girls who are literally, when I go to beauty pageants, let me tell you, USA is
uh,
not the hottest country. Let me tell you that. I am in a room with literal supermodels all the time.
uh,
And I always come in, I place higher, I make more money, I come back, I get better sponsorships. Why? Because I emit something way greater than looks ever can. And maybe not a lot of people can do that. Maybe a lot of people don't know themselves enough to be their true selves and emit that energy. Maybe they're just a product of society.
well, I mean, but, you know, I mean, there's also kind of a feminist aspect to beauty pageants today. I mean,
Oh
it's
yeah,
not really like,
100%.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but you know, I mean, regardless, like, you being a good-looking woman, right? All right. What if you weren't?
Mm-hmm.
How would your options change, right? I mean, because you can see it from the perspective of what the world should be, right?
Mm-hmm.
But let's say that you were severely disfigured or whatever, or let's say you're a chunk.
Right,
I'm
right.
trying to imagine. I'm trying to imagine you as a chunk. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, have you ever been chunky?
I was a chunk when I was young. I was chunky.
I don't believe it. I don't believe it. You have to send me pictures of you being
No, when
chunky.
I go to the airport,
Yeah.
they literally sometimes have to call someone from security to check if it's really me, because I do not look. Yeah, I have been. Trust me, I was not always gorgeous. I definitely, puberty did me well, but
Mhm.
puberty, I'm not so young, but like, I do understand. I have a younger sister who was bullied severely when she was young. She was not a cute child. Now she's like a Victoria's Secret model. And I asked her, I was like, do fat and ugly people know that they're fat and ugly? And she was like, yes, they do. But you know what? Then I go to college and I meet these girls who have more confidence than the most beautiful girl in the room, and they're fat and ugly. And they're there talking to the hockey team, and they're doing their thing, you know, and they do get laid.
Well, okay. I mean, but not with the guys that they want, right? I mean, sure, you know, guys are pretty desperate in general. But
Yeah.
okay, let's go back. Let's say that you become, you know, fat and chunky Stephanie, all right? How do you think it changes your perspective and your options? Like, honestly, right? Like, let's, you know, honestly, you know, in this case, what would you have available to you? Like, you know, what would your situation be? How would you view things differently?
Right. So it's very hard because, like, how could you even put yourself in a mindset of not having those things? But okay, say if I didn't have options, if I couldn't, and you know what, like I said, most of the time I'm in the room where I'm not the prettiest girl and I don't get the most.
Well, yeah, but when you're talking about, like, okay, she's a 9 and she's a 9.3,
yes, but
I
I mean,
mean,
still,
okay, it's like splitting hairs,
when you realize that you're in a room and the guys are paying attention to all the other girls and not you, and you're like, oh no, why me? I mean, I do understand it. You do have to an extent, like, kind of accept your physical attractiveness. But what I'm saying is one day that hot guy is going to be ugly too. One day that hot girl is going to be ugly too. So if I'm placing my self-value in, like, oh, he's not looking at me because he wants a pretty girl, whatever, then newsflash to him, 5 years down the road, that girl has like some genetic deformity in her family and she can't walk, you know, in one side of her body. What I'm saying is like, people are placing the value in the wrong places, which is causing us to have this negative view of men in relationships, like Tomi Lahren.
Well, I mean, I get it. I can get that. I disagree because I think that the world is whatever it is, that's what it's supposed to be. That exactly how it is, that's how it's supposed to be. Because that's how it came about, right?
Live with limitations. You can't live with limitations.
Hey, I'm not saying it can't change. I'm just saying whatever it is right now, cool. I'm good with it. I'm playing, like, it's like, okay, if we sat down to play a board game and you know, and we're playing Monopoly and I read the rules to you and you're like, oh, well, I should be able to buy this property without landing on it. Well, okay, I agree. You should be able to, but you can't, because that's what the rules are. So we're playing this game. So we're playing this game right now. So with this game, again, if you were not attractive, right? If you couldn't, you know, I mean, because you know, right? You put a post on TikTok, you know, you move your body in a certain way, you're gonna get all these guys who are like, oh, Stephanie.
I'm a dancer. I've danced for years. I've toured. Thank you very much.
Okay, all right, but you know what you can do, right? So if you didn't have that ability, right? If you were ugly, let's say you're ugly, then how would the world look differently to you? Like, what will your options be? Like, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I would have those guys that are looking to get with me for a one-night stand or looking for me until they find the next more beautiful girl than I am. Then those are the guys I'll attract. But if I'm someone who gets on that screen and I'm ugly, I'm speaking my truth and people love that, or I'm wearing a hot outfit and I don't give a F, you know, like, that's going to attract your audience. That's going to attract, in my opinion, the right kind of person. There's you know, if you watch the show Euphoria, about how the big ugly fat girl becomes like the most popular in the school. You know, like, it's just, and I think I'm very thankful for that show for breaking a lot of mold about what it means to be a young person. But I just think that it's not that black and white. And a lot of men, especially, I do believe that older generations are more stuck in this, like, millennial and above. But I think, like, anything below, you know, people born in the 2000s and under, they are becoming more open-minded to this concept that, like, okay, like, the hottest girl doesn't mean that she's the best, or like the girl with the most money doesn't mean she's the best, or even the girl who, like, plays piano and is super smart. Like, they value someone who is real, who is true, who is going to be there for them. And it's really strange because I hear a lot of men, they're always like, well, that's just the way the world is. And it really grinds my gears, because how many times are we like, okay, we hate skinny girls, or no, we hate fat girls, but now the industry's like, oh, we like thick girls, or, you know, 1990s versus 2000s. I mean, we are literally just thought to believe what is beautiful by what the media tells us. In Africa, there are places where they actually find fatter people attractive because that means they can eat. I mean, tan versus white. China likes pure white with not a dot. Here we like tan burnt, you know? Beauty is so subjective too, so why can't it change?
It's the curve. It's the hip to waist ratio.
Oh, geez.
That's what it is. No. And I can tell you, like, as I when I lean out, when I get, like, super ripped, I start to like, it's almost like I'm seeking out meat. Like, I like the little bit of a chunkier
Now
girl.
you
Not
do,
like
because
not
the
super
media tells
chunky,
you
but just
to.
a little bit. Yeah, because like when I get really lean, for some reason it's like I'm hungry or something, you know. But
Well, how come
but
in the 1990s, all we were obsessed with girls that were skinny as sticks, and that's what
well,
people
okay, yeah, but see, the reason why the image has changed, right? Because
and
you're
constantly
on one
changing,
hand you're railing against like what the world's values are,
or
okay, and
what
I
they
can't,
want us to buy.
but the whole like the whole media is controlled by feminist narrative now, right? And so the idea, it's not that guys or that people actually find fat girls attractive. It's that now the message is fat girls are attractive. They're just the same as everyone else. Girls that are in their 30s or 40s can be just as hot as you know, as long as they're a boss babe. But that's not true. And the problem with that is that, and the reason why I asked you, like, how would your life be different if you weren't hot, okay, is that because when women, especially women, for men it's not necessarily as destructive because they have plenty of time, but for women in their 20s who get taught this message, it really screws them up, because when they get into their 30s and they don't have any options, then they're kind of fucked. Their life is like, it's too late. You can't go back in time. You can't fix these things. And so that false narrative is like, no, this is what, like, when you have the ability to attract a high value man in your 20s as a woman, you got to do that. You got to lock his ass down. Otherwise you're gonna you're just not gonna have the options that you have later on in life. That's why I said, like, if you were
But
not,
that man, that same high value man, is just going to look for something of higher value once you lose a little bit of yours, don't you think? That's why we have divorce, isn't it?
this is
No, it's
this
not
is
why, but I'm saying, like, most guys, they'll leave their wife for someone younger, better looking. If you want a guy who's going to value you for that, then you are screwing yourself over.
well,
Both
you're
ways.
polyamorous, right? So maybe he'll be polyamorous, and you'll still be his wife, and then he'll he'll just get a hot little thing every once in a while, and it's
Like, what's
good,
the point of locking him down, though, if you know he's just going to leave you for the next hot thing?
because he won't have to leave you if he's polyamorous.
No, we're not talking. I'm talking about general society that thinks that they need to be with one person to be happy.
Okay.
Like, ridiculous.
Well,
But what I'm
okay,
saying
but
is, you see that all the time. Like, people leave you because they find something
yeah,
better. And if
but
you're looking
see,
for someone like in that, what? Go ahead.
well, that's where your narrative comes from, right? Is from, honestly, from fear, right? Because like what you're describing, I think, is a valid concern that women have, and there's not a solution for it, right? I mean, I think that's just how things are, is that a guy that is of high value, if you lock him down early, that you might not be able to keep him forever.
Mm,
And but like, if you're afraid of that, like, I mean, again, am I saying that that's how the world should work? Or no, I'm not necessarily saying that's how it should
I
work.
guess.
We're not going to have families and the family values that create a strong society if we don't have that. But at the same time, like, if you're afraid of that happening to you, then
Mhm.
you're not going to really be free
Yeah.
in loving anyone, because you're always going to be guarding. You're always be afraid that
Yeah.
this is going to happen. And
Yeah.
so you're going to pick guys that are safe, and those guys that are safe are going to be suboptimal. They're not going to be the guys that you're actually attracted to,
Mhm.
because that's suboptimal, because you're guarding yourself against that inevitable bad thing that is happening down the road if you
It
do.
happens to men and women all the time. I
It
mean, I
does.
know, I mean, most people maybe only hear about the women's stories because we complain about it more. But honestly, I've seen that happen to both men and women, where the woman leaves for a hotter, richer guy all the time, especially if you're a 60-year-old man with money. That girl finds a guy with more money, watch out. Like, that's what I'm not saying it's a fear. I'm
Well,
saying if you are searching for a high value person and that value is I'm pretty or I'm sexually attractive, then you are going to hurt yourself in the long run, regardless, because you are giving yourself a false security. You're thinking because I'm pretty, he's going to love me forever. No. If you're looking for someone who's a high value because he has money, he has a car, he's not going to have that forever. There's a possibility he loses it all tomorrow. So if you are searching for those things, then you will never be in a happy relationship.
right. Well, again, a guy, it's different for men and women, right? Because a man can always raise his value over time, and his value is going to be intrinsically tied to his ability, like to his ability to assert himself, to basically exercise his will upon the world, to get what he wants out of life. And a guy always is competing. Like, one of the things that men have to learn in life if they want to become men and stop being boys is that they never get to put the gloves on, that they're always going to be fighting, that they're always going to be climbing the ladder. And as soon as they stop, whatever woman that you're with, you might as well consider her gone, because you have to be constantly improving yourself as a man. Whereas women, it's different, right? Women don't have that same kind of pressure. They just have to be attractive, make themselves attractive, be feminine, and then treat a man like a king, treat a man well. And that's where that value is, right? Because that's what, I mean, ultimately it comes to what women value in men and what men value in women. Women value in men status, which, you know, again, it's a pretty
In
generic
this
type of
Western
term.
society, but if you're a smart person that cares about yourself, I don't think that's what you value. I think you value a nice guy, and it shouldn't matter what his status is. But fine, the whole, I mean, you're saying majority, but I mean, I think that's, if we're going to just say that that's the norm and we're going to be okay with it, then everyone's going to be hurt. So yeah, I mean, like, sure, you can say that, but I don't think that that's a great message to spread and or say that it's just the way it is, because it's not. We are literally told to think that way. Why? Is it because of us that we think money like is everything, or is it because of the rap songs and the TV shows that show the rich people having great lives? Because we have already shown that money does not bring you happiness.
Well, yeah.
Celebrities aren't happy.
Money doesn't bring you happiness. I think what money represents for men, and again, see, you actually said this because it was really good that you said this, because it's smart, which is that you would rather have a guy that made his own money, and I think you said maybe even living in a car.
Lived in a van, then is
okay.
Yeah.
Then a guy that worked for someone else. Now the reason, so that's what money represents, right? For men, is that a man that has a lot of money usually has a lot of success, a lot of ambition in life. That's what it generally, it doesn't always represent that. And women are really good at fishing that out. They'll meet a guy that has a lot of money, and they'll shit test him. They'll see what he's made of and see if he fucking crumbles, or if he's used to dealing with hot women and not. And if he crumbles, then they know, okay, yeah, he inherited the money. He's a pussy anyway, whatever, you know, he got lucky, he won the lottery, whatever. Okay, he's not the actual guy that actually can earn that money. So the value of money is not the money itself, it's what it represents. It's a score. It's like, you know, a guy that it's a selection criteria, right? It's like women are attracted to men that other women are attracted to in general. And one of those selection criteria is this guy beating out everyone else? Is he beating out the other men and becoming the top dog? That's what it means to be alpha, is to be the top dog, essentially, right? And so that's, you know, it's not really a superficial level thing then. Yeah, I mean, if you're a sugar baby and you're looking for the, you know, the 6-year-old guy with a lot of money, that's a totally different thing, and that's not going to be fulfilling for anyone. I don't think that's a good arrangement for anyone. But in general, like the you know, just the raw attractiveness that women have towards men with money has, you know, I mean, would you disagree that it has to do with that?
But what
ambition?
if you are the one making the money and you happen to meet a guy who has no money and you fall in love with him? What if you're the boss? What if you're the alpha, is what I'm saying?
That'll never work.
Yeah. We're in new times, brother. We're in new times.
No, it doesn't change. It doesn't change.
I mean,
you're going to be sexually attracted to some guy that's making less money than you. Come on.
There are plenty of stay-at-home dads. Plenty.
No.
I mean, imagine like the norm is changing, and I get what you're saying. Maybe.
Yeah, but they're pussies. You're not gonna. I mean, you might like accept a pussy, but you're not gonna be attracted to a pussy.
Maybe that's what people think, that just because a man, like, because a woman is the alpha and the man isn't, that he's a pussy. But I don't think that's true, because I think that is the same way as saying because the woman's not feminine, that means that she can't be with an alpha guy. I mean, it's just such a narrow-minded way of looking at things. Well, even though people say, yeah, I mean, you're saying, yes, that's the way it is, but I think that's just a narrow scope. And if you don't see like the other relationships that work out that way, you would never know, you know?
I have a hard time seeing you being attracted to a weak feminine guy.
Well,
I would have a really hard time seeing that. It doesn't compute to me.
Like, it's comfortable with their sexuality, comfortable with like wearing makeup if they want to. I actually find that really attractive, which is really weird. I know, because I like guys and people who don't put gender specific roles on things. Like, I had a teacher who really instilled this in me. She raised her children to be non-gender biased. So the boy played with Barbies, the girl played with trucks. Like, there was no men should only do this and women should only do this.
Wait a minute. I thought you said you weren't a feminist. That's a total feminist viewpoint. But maybe, okay. So,
but that's how it should be.
Why it shouldn't be like that. It's not like that. It shouldn't be like that. You have to have polarization. You're not going to have like the best thing. I mean, have you ever been like so sexually attracted to someone that you just want to rip their clothes off?
Yeah.
And okay, that comes from polarization. That's from a man being dominant and masculine, and a woman being feminine and submissive. Like that's the only way that creates that situation. Or it can be flipped. It could be flipped. I mean, but if you're an alpha woman, right, then maybe What about lesbianism, right? Maybe that could, I mean, because that could solve the problem, because in that case you can have an alpha female and you can have
Why can't you just have a guy who's not the alpha and you're the alpha? I mean, I don't see like why that's so outlandish to be like, well, the woman could never be the alpha because that'll never work out. I mean, it's just about yin and yang. Doesn't
because
matter
you're
who's
describing a woman as a perfect partner for you. Like everything that you're describing, I don't think that's what you will actually select if you're selecting someone, but what you're describing is a woman.
You'd be very surprised at the guys that I've dated. Like I said, I really look at personality.
No, I wouldn't be
first,
surprised.
but...
I wouldn't be surprised, because I know what they're. I already know. I already know what it's going to be. It's not going to be what you're describing right now. It's not going to be what you're describing right now.
I know.
It's going to be rich. It's going to be rich guys, 6-pack abs. They're going to be good-looking model tier guys.
You're so wrong.
Oh, okay. All right. I wouldn't. I'm not going to make you do it, but I would challenge you to like post up the picture.
Yeah. The guys I've hooked up with, 100%. The guys I've dated, all like gamers, really introverted, like don't like to go out, like really, really opposite of me.
That sounds
and like I said, because I think long term, and I know that like, and they're all hot. It has nothing to do with that. They all. I mean, some of them had money, some of them did not. But
typically gamer and
I'm alpha, and I need that yin and yang. But I'm the alpha. I'm always the alpha.
Yeah, I don't know. But do guys find that attractive, right? See, that's the thing. It's like you could be the alpha, but do guys find a woman being alpha attractive?
Right. Well, in my opinion, the right guy likes an alpha woman and isn't looking for someone to treat him like a king because he already knows he's a king. He doesn't need that validation.
Well, it's not a matter of validation, right? It's a matter of like of roles,
what?
right? Of
what?
How of roles of male and female
roles. Oh no!
Yeah, see,
you live in such a closed-minded world. No.
You're completely
open your mind. Let's read the towel. Let's read the towel the way, okay?
No, you're a feminist in denial, though. You have to realize this, right?
I've had a great life being an alpha.
Yeah, but that doesn't make you not a feminist, right?
Feminist? Okay, I mean, like, there are plenty of things that I don't agree with in the feminist culture, but I mean, there are things I agree with too, because I think men, I mean, really try to put women in a place because that's what they want. They want women to be their pretty little pet. I want the women to treat me nice. I want the women to be this way, da-da-da. What about what the woman wants? What if I want to be the alpha? What if I want to be the one with the nice car and the boating license? Like, what if I want to be the helicopter driver? Like, I mean, why can I not experience those things in life and still be with someone who's an alpha?
Yeah, because they're going to have to be that much more alpha than you. The more alpha that you get, then the guy is going to have to be that. But that's why that's why there's like all those romance comedies where it's some successful woman and she can't find a guy because she's got to find some guy that's more alpha than she is, and that's why it's a real problem. But here's the thing. Okay. So shoot, I just lost my train of thought because you were saying about it was good. I had something good.
Well, we were talking about why can't women be the alpha? Does the man have to be that much more alpha? TV shows that I think are brainwashing us anyways or whatever. Patriarchy.
Yeah.
The men, being an actor myself and working at NBC, men run the industry. Just putting that out there.
Okay, I got it though. All right. What's the best-selling fiction book of all time?
At least
it was.
Harry Potter?
Nope.
What?
50 Shades of Grey.
Oh God, because people are horny because they don't know how to express their sexual energy. I'm just putting that out there.
Let me ask you, who's buying that book? Men or women?
A woman? I'm not sure.
Women are buying
I haven't read it or watched it.
Okay, but you're aware of what the book is, right? About.
It's like an erotic.
Don't play.
I swear to God, because I haven't watched them. I just have no desire. I don't know.
But you're generally aware of the subject matter of the book.
Is it like BDSM-y? I don't know.
Don't pretend like you just.
I swear on my life. I swear on my life.
All right. No, you're right. It is. But it's really like not really even that hardcore of BDSM. But what it is it's about a rich billionaire guy who's extremely dominant, and gets into a sexual relationship with a younger woman who's innocent, naive, and he spanks her. Right? That's like the
Western society.
Yeah. So, but here's the thing. All of Western society says what you're saying. The whole feminist narrative of, men and women, they don't have roles, and men shouldn't be so fucking toxic masculinity. It's bad, right? But then they buy the book, because when it comes down to it, it's like at a surface level, we'd like to be civilized, right? We'd like to like not have gender roles. We'd like to say that everyone's the same. But when it comes down to our primal sexual nature, women want a man. They don't want a boy.
I think that's why women are unhappy, because they don't know what they want, and they think they want all these things that television and radio and people tell them to think. But that's why
But they do want them. That's why they buy the book, right? I mean, if you're going to buy some female pornography to get off on, it's going to be something that actually gets you off, which is going to be that, right? I mean, that's what the book is, right? So
what about Dominatrix? That's a whole industry. That's literally
that is for completely wussy beta males. That's
oh God. See, and that's something like men, I feel like men who are insecure in themselves can't handle an alpha woman, and that's what this whole world is. Men just trying to be like, oh my God, be there for me, I need you, be my little wife. No, like find someone who's as batty as you are. Like
men cannot handle an alpha woman. That's true, because a lot of men are not alpha enough to handle an alpha woman, right?
Yeah.
You have to know how to handle an alpha woman, right?
Yeah,
and
tough.
What alpha women want is they want a man to dominate them.
See, I'm the type of person that'll like be the complete opposite. Like I'll tie you up, like I'll be that person. I like that better. I get a more rush. I feel more like myself. And I don't think that just because a man is submissive. I love it when a man is submissive, like not all the time. Let me put that out there, men, but I really do love that. I feel like it's a sense, like when guys can joke about their sexuality, like guys who are like, oh, I would never be gay. I can't believe it. Why would they even call me gay? Why did a gay man hit on me? I'm like, when a guy's comfortable with his sexuality enough to like even pretend to be gay for a second, to me, that's like, wow, you literally are so comfortable in your own skin. You have so much confidence. You don't care what people think about you. You don't care about these gender roles. You don't need anybody to tell you who you are. And I really find that attractive. I don't like guys who are brute and like, oh, I need to be the best man in the room. And that's for me insecurity.
See, but men that understand alpha women, they'll ignore everything you said and they'll do what you actually want. Because women don't like a man to have to be told. They like a guy that already knows it.
Fine to be told what to do, but in terms of someone being the alpha and beta, like, yeah, it's important that the man also like takes charge, but it's not the fact that the men should always take charge and the women should always be like this second hand, or this, like, you know, they say men are the head but women are the neck, you know. And I'm like, no guys, like why can't women like be all the things that an alpha male is, or an alpha woman? Like that to me too is like, I get it in the ape culture, in animalistic nature, but there's a reason we were given a consciousness. There's a reason we're not animals. And everyone says we evolved from animals, blah, blah, blah. Like, we're Homo sapiens. You know, we were not freaking apes. Even if we were a different species. Like, there's a reason we are biologically different. It's because we are not meant to act the same way, but we believe it because we have no other reference. Now we're all unhappy and realizing, oh, what's wrong with the world? Why are we treating each other like this? Why do I hate men? Why is everything ending? Why do no relationships work? Well, because you're predicating it on animals. Like, honestly.
Well, because we are. It's like you know, it's Walking Dead. It's just we're just pretending like it's not Walking Dead. When society breaks down, it's always going to be
like an animal, then act like an animal. But I don't think that. I mean, if people keep going in the way that they're going, then it's just going to be self-destruction. Because there's no world where like people are going to be happy, stuck in these roles, stuck in these little boxes of what they're supposed to be. They'll never express themselves to their full potential.
I would say the exact opposite, in the sense that if you're not fulfilling your role in life, if you're not expressing yourself as you're meant to be, then you're always going to be unhappy.
You're meant to be, but who's to say what that is?
Well, but the biggest problem with feminism, like this is how you could just describe feminism, is women wanting to be men. And that's the problem. You can't have just all men walking around. Right? It doesn't work. You don't have the polarization. You don't have the variety. You don't have the, the idea, the different perspectives, right? Men have to go out and fucking kill and hunt and be the aggressor, and have to go and be stoic and to deal with life and to defend the borders, right? Women have to have their role. They have to be the one that takes the time to live in the present moment, to experience the beauty and the joy of life, and to bring that in. And if you don't have both of those things, right, then you're not going to feel complete as a person. And so if you're trying to like bring all those things within yourself, it's not going to work, right? You have to have that other component, the other piece.
We pop like literal bodies out of our body. Like we are, I mean, in my opinion, I think men just were like, oh no, women are not the alpha, this the alpha. I mean, honestly, women freaking bear life and pop things out of our body. Like, I think that we are more badass than any baddie guy, any alpha male ever. And I think that men have been suppressing women for a very, very long time. And it's, oh my God, don't tell me about the suppression of women. Thank you. Because I have literally spoken at rallies all over the world to get men to stop beating women, to get men to stop trying to be this alpha male because they think that the women is lesser than them. And maybe here we're a little more civilized, but it still happens. Men feel like because they're more powerful, they can hurt women. They find joy in being the alpha male. They think that that's the way that life should be. And it leads to a lot of issues. Men have a way higher rate of depression than women because they're trained that they can't show emotion. They can't be that beta. So it really messes us up to try and put you in this role.
Well, you're describing of the suppression of women throughout time. In fact, you can see this in countries where they still actively suppress women, is beta men trying to guard basically trying to suppress women's sexuality, right? In all of these cultures where you're seeing the suppression of women, you're not seeing alpha men. An alpha man doesn't need to repress the woman's sexuality because he's not afraid of it, because he's getting that sexuality. Beta men have to repress the sexuality of women so that they can make sure that they have women, right? And that's why you see such strong enforcement of these kind of things in those kind of countries. But I'm running out of time, so I'll tell you what. Let's end it. Let's give me one last question that we can end this thing on, and
okay.
Okay.
So if you think that this is just the world is, if you think that this is the way it should be, and these are the roles that people should play, then why is nobody happy?
Why is nobody happy?
Why are we having these things like Tomi Lahren coming out about men? Why do we have men, beating their women? Why is all of this happening? And fine, alpha, beta, regardless of all that, why is that happening in the world if things are just the way they should be?
Because people are seeking happiness instead of fulfillment. And happiness is something that is temporary and fleeting. And the problem is that when you try and avoid any kind of discomfort and you don't want to face the actual harsh realities of life because you want to be happy and you want to be comfortable, you end up becoming miserable instead. And instead of seeking this temporary happiness and thinking that everyone should be happy all the time, if you seek fulfillment in life, which means achieving something meaningful, which means developing yourself, which means doing the work that you need to do and respecting that anything in value in life that has value in life is going to require work, then you won't worry about being happy. The people who are chasing happiness are the ones who are trying to make everyone happy. You can't make everyone happy. The world is a harsh place. It's always going to be a harsh place. There's harsh realities. If you're born, if you're a female and you're born without, the beautiful looks that you have, it's going to be a harsher reality for you. It's not going to be fun. All right. That's just how the fucking dice roll. It's like, hey, it's no one's fault. Life isn't fair. If you're a man and you're born short, well, you know what? That kind of sucks. What are you going to do? That's it. That's what you got. Right. But you have to play it where it lies. Right. And not kid yourself, not pretend like the world is something different than it is. All these people are playing pretend. They're playing like the world is what we want it to be. This whole equal, fair place. And when you're telling me your fantasy of how the world should be, I can see the utopia. I can see the appeal to it, but it's not how it is. And that's why people are unhappy. It's because they're not accepting how things are. Because once you start accepting how things are, then you can make changes and you can adapt and you can live in that world. You can play by that game. But if you're trying to change the rules of the game, or you're not accepting the rules of the game, you're going to be unhappy because you're not going to be able to win a game that you're not playing by the rules.
Okay. I get it, I guess. Patriarchy, but okay.